Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the Westminster School Board meeting.
All right, well, it's 6 o'clock, so I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting of the Westminster School Board, meeting at the Westminster Center School at 6 o'clock of this warm day. We'll hopefully do a round of introductions. We have Fact TV with us, which we're always grateful for, so folks can watch the meeting later on for their benefit. Let's have a quick round of introductions, and we'll start over here.
Jim Casino, Finance.
Thank you. Team BOC Westminster School Board.
Liz Hardy, Principal, Westminster Center School.
Cheryl Charles, Chair of the Westminster Board. Karen Blanchard, Westminster School Board.
Andy Fox, Superintendent.
Wonderful. And I think we have a guest, but I don't see, we're waiting for one additional worker. But we're fine. We have a board. So any adjustments to the agenda?
Margie could join, so.
Oh, Margie's here. Great. All right, Margie, excellent. Introduce yourself quickly, just so that the public knows who you are.
I'm Margie Ferry, Westminster Board.
So much. Glad you're able to join us. That's great. And our fifth school board member has had a family tragedy, family loss, Charlie Hutchison. He won't be with us tonight, but he will be with us soon. So thanks to everybody for their kindness, understanding. Let me ask if there are any communications and public comments. Have a few folks joining us on Zoom, so just checking to see if anybody wants to participate in communication and public. All right, then we'll move on to reviewing and approving the minutes from August 3rd, 7th, and 24th. In your packet, there were minutes from the 7th and the 24th. We don't yet have the minutes from August 3rd, so we'll address those retroactively.
Thank you.
Which is fine. So if I could just entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 7th and August 24th. So moved. Thank you. Terry has moved to approve the minutes from August 7th, which was the board retreat, and August 24th, the special board meeting. So the motion is on the floor. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none. We'll take a vote on approving the minutes from August 7th and August 24th. I'll start with T. Yes. All right. And I approve. Yes, Karen and Margie.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, with that, we get to move right away into a report from the Director of Finance. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the new function sheet. And, as with anything new, takes a while to get used to it. I mean, you gotta certainly discern what the real estate looks like. And I just want to go through a little bit with you. Looking at the page. The page number is down in the lower left, a lower right-hand column, bottom. So that's the page number. At the top, the headings, you'll see GL budget. And that GL budget is the budget that you adopted and voted on. The range to date, if I could remove this, I would, because this is just the expense of the month. And for me, again, if it's good for some people, great, but I would never use it. Year to date, that is the year to date expenses. So that's important. The balance is just subtracting what you approved for a budget against what has been expended. The encumbrance, and again, this is where, this is critical for the salaries, associated benefits of FICA, worker comp, health and dental insurances. And now we have the ability to look out through the year and encumber exactly what we're going to need. So it gives you exact data. The budget balance just takes, it subtracts the expended against the encumbrance and tells you what monies you have available. So you can transfer it if Liz said, yeah, you know, we've got 14 more kids than I expected, I need to get a teacher. Well, we can shuffle things around now to accumulate that money into the account that she's going to be expending from. Now, as we're transitioning into this, I mean, it was a heck of a busy summer building and getting the accounts put up. Like to have stock encumbered, and I mean, the bigger money items, tuition. Hey, we spend $1 million in tuition. I don't want to show that $1 million as available.
Right.
So we will, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to encumber those tuition, and you know, we're going to take a good guess as to what we think we're going to encumber. Some cases like electric, some cases like the heating oil, the wood, we're going to encumber the whole amount. We don't know. There were some board members that said, gee, if you don't know it, why would you encumber it? Well, I know we're going to expend some. The question is how much? And I just want to make sure as we get cash tight, we know where we stand. And if we need to shift money, we can easily know where those pockets are. And I will say this, the one that we know that's going to be available to us, should Liz have any needs not budgeted, we're going to pull it from the oil. And why I say that is, last year we budgeted oil at $4 a gallon. Okay, this year we got it at $3.50 a gallon. We locked in, so we know there should, unless you get a cold winter, but we know we should have money available. So we're going to lock and load, and it'll make the picture a lot clearer, because as you're going through your school year, you're going to be able to use what funds you have available. You know, if you say, hey, I've got projects that I want to get done, I want to expand if there's money available, and we'll be able to do that. We'll be able to shift that money around. So this gives you, last year I tried to put something together that gave you a summary of the function. This gives you the detail and the function summary. On page 2, quarter of the way down, you'll see general education. And this is where you stand now with the encumbrances. I mean, you know, as they say, this data allows you to analyze your needs and moving money to fill issues that come along. So it should do something that works for you. Now, I will say this. Over on the left side of the page, you'll see a 21-digit number. Now, that's the account code. And I've got a sheet that I'm going to pass out eventually here, but last year we ran into the situation where people didn't know coding. I mean, there was no clue. When I say that, maybe more in the financial office than out in the schools. But it was a real problem, because you've got to discern where you're spending money, where that's going to be charged. We spend a lot of time making sure that the expense is coded to the right account. Now we've got to make sure, because that expenditure that we code with APs, that's only 30% of what we expend. 70% are the people. And we've got to make sure that the people are coded to the right accounts. And it's tricky. It's a learning process. It's going to take us a while to get there, but we will. So each page gives you the function. If you turn all the way to page 9 at the end where the grand totals are, right now, with all that we've encumbered, it shows that you have 2.4 million available. And we know that's off because we've got, obviously, we've got 100,000 in bonds. We've got, you know, over 1 million, 1.1 million in tuition that's not encumbered. We've got to make sure those are done. Because I'd rather say to you, look, you've got $98,000. Think about how you want to determine where that's used. And again, we can make preparations as we go along. But I think it's important to be able to have that roadmap that's going to guide you, because you have goals and objectives in your financial, in your educational system. This allows you to reach it. So also to go along with that, that's by function, and not my favorite page, as I said before. But the object sheet is really a lot more telling. And again, this mirrors in many ways, I mean, where you're expending the funds. And we'll just look at the top one here. So teacher salaries. You're budgeted at 1.2 million. Right now, we've expended, we've only had one payroll, 43,000, 44,000. And we've got a balance of subtracting that from the budget of 1.1 million. We're encumbering $1 million. So it says you've got 85,000 remaining. And keeping in mind that, and it doesn't show up here, but further down, we'll see where we are with subs. Because you never know, you know, with the subs. And we've talked at some point about whether the subs should go into the SU, because it's so complicated. Subs work at various, they could work at 3 different schools, different tax ID numbers. And there are some benefits they can't get them. And Beamer's is one where if you have somebody working at multiple schools, they won't get Beamer's, even though it's a benefit they should get. So this gives you it by function, and you know where tuitions are. It's a quick read. If you want to get a particular area where you're interested in saying where are we with how we're expending. Life insurance, property and life insurance, property and liability insurance. We're going to be cutting those checks the 15th. And again, that will be all expended. And so that money will be gone. But I just think for me, there's a lot of value with the objects. We can get this information now just by a press of a button. It's done. If you said, I want it every day, you got it every day. This is just so easily to generate. And last year, and it took me 2.5 hours maybe to generate. So this is fast. Okay, the last sheet that I have for you. Any questions that you might have? I don't mean to rush you and I don't want to.
Only question I have, it's probably so if this is the 23-24 budget, right?
Yes,
And there are a lot of expenses that have been that are expended at 100%.
Yep.
And that is because they're at the beginning of the school year trying to figure this out. So 100% left, they haven't been spent. Okay, so that's.
yes, that's,
So this is where when you have the encumber, I get
Yep.
it.
so,
I was reading the encumber, I was reading that as encumbrances, that's fine, thanks.
so let's just clarify that. So
So
the far right
Yeah. that-
percent
I get it.
is the percent remaining.
That's right, I got that now.
So,
I was
but
sort of
Karen,
looking
thank
at
you for the question.
thing, and I'm
Thank you for the question.
And in some of these, there's negative percents remaining. What is that? Does that just mean
Means,
it's overspent?
and you know, some of that, right now, I wouldn't be too concerned with that at all, because right now, we're going through all of the people and checking what's paid, making sure that they got paid in the right account. And again, that's a real truing up, a real reconciliation, because that data goes into your budget. So it's gotta be right for both sides.
So Teen, like on the object page, the second line there,
Which,
object, on the
Yeah,
object,
the
no, I got
59%.
your, which page?
page one,
Okay,
on the second line where it talks about guidance,
Yeah,
and you see there's a negative, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's because last year's guidance counselor, we budgeted at a certain salary. This year's guidance counselor is at a higher salary, so you're gonna run in that negative.
okay.
Because of that, because at the time we developed the budget,
Yeah,
we were anticipating one salary, and now we're at a different salary. So that's why you might see some negatives,
Right.
you know.
Cruise it up pretty fast. Okay.
But it allows us, like, when we're looking at them, that if we're all of a sudden seeing like a supply line, as an example, like all of a sudden running high negative, is to pick up the phone and say, hey, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah.
And or Liz could be watching that, just, you know, if someone requests something, she can actually go in and pull it up and say, nope, you're already, you know, we're already out of there, and pick up the, you know, the bat phone and call the office and say, help, I need this, you know, type of thing. So it is helpful in that, in the moment, realizing where your budget is.
Yes, yes, and later on, we'll try to true up and move some funds to balance out, just where it's heavy. If you ran 200,000 over in your tuition account, well, we collect and try to balance out to make sure we were kind of, okay.
Yeah, take it again. What do you mean?
So if there's areas that we saw you had a lot of money surplus, we try to move that, transfer it into the account that you're way over. Sometimes we run into that in the special ed where you may need the one-on-one paras. And I mean, I've seen 400,000 over on a para line because of the special ed needs.
So it surprises.
Yeah, there is.
Right, and that's, I'm thinking about conversations at town meeting, for example, the voters vote to approve the budget overall. They see a designation of line items. However, it's still up to the leadership to determine how monies are spent in the end. There is still some flexibility to do what you're talking about if need be.
Yes, and they're really, the vote and what they're passing is really the bottom line.
Correct.
That's what they're approving. With your revenue sheet, you'll see that it shows a grand total of 4,849,731. Now that's all, right now, that's what we projected revenues that you would receive. but it doesn't count for the 300,000 of, balance, surplus balance that you put in to offset taxes. With that with that 300,000 in, it matches that 5,149,731 to the dollar, and that's what you want. So, moving right on.
Thank you.
This is so neat. I mean, listen, I wish I knew the system better, but I'm just getting into it. You got the sheet. I do. Okay, so this gives you a snapshot, and again, you can run this every day, but this gives you a snapshot of people, how much you're paying them, and this is what I'm using now to really check, because this amount, this column amount, which is listed, which shows the total salary, that's what's in payroll. Now, this number has to match a contract and has to match what's in the database for your new budget. So, this gives me something to check the system and make modifications now before we get further down the road and say, oh gee, that's in the wrong account. Before we had to do journal entries to move the money and make sure it's put in the right place. The other thing that happens is if you have the wrong amount to an employee, and you've got to shift it, either reducing it to balance out. Better to do it sooner than later. So we went down through and made the movements and shifted.
Now Liz can check this as well.
So, and again, this is the most recent copy. There probably will be a few changes.
So if I was to add on to this, with just seeing this, because I know we didn't have it the other night, because I know you're just finding all the reporting. Yeah, we have to provide the association this information on a yearly basis, and it's always felt like some Indiana Jones exploration to try and get it, which having it all year, because then a teacher can look, someone can look at it and say, wait a minute, I should be, and we can correct it
Yes.
now, so.
Yes, because it does give you on that sheet, it gives you, the amount that's paid to date.
Yeah.
And so you know what the remaining is. Easy for them to look at.
Yeah.
But it also, as Andy just said, it is the step in the column,
Yep.
all of that, which is essential. That's great. For you.
Yeah.
Reported. Yeah.
Passes out nothing. The account number sheet.
Okay.
And again, this is just, hey, if you're up at midnight. and you're-
I memorize those numbers.
There's a test in the next meeting.
Yeah, repairs project is fine with work.
We've got a long ways to go. But we've started. We've made that huge turn. We've started. So,
That's well, congratulations.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, really, it's not an easy job, I was it. Anything else you want to report to, or open up for more questions?
yeah, that's probably it for now. That's probably it for now.
Oh. So are there any questions? Liz, we have any?
I did jot down a few questions, but I think I can connect with you. They're just really line specific and, like I just looked at the West electricity. And I just was wondering, it's already overspent on page 8, and I guess what I was wondering is there a way for e-finance where I can click on, figure out what was spent on that line?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and again, I will say this. We want to make lines for accounts that are important to us. And if, because we were looking at, Andy had, what is that place, that rental place? We go off with kids, there's a rental.
Priority place.
Prior,
Or
it's a rental place in Rockingham.
oh, Parks Place.
Excellent, thank you. But anyways, it's a, I don't know, $5,000. So I want to make a separate account for that. And if there are items like that, I do want to be very careful that it's right there. I mean, if somebody says, what's in your budget? Here you go. And I just want to discern as much as we can the meaningful monies. I'm not worried about $20. Hey, that's okay. That's supplies. But if we're spending money, I want to be able to break it out as a separate account.
How can I think you about specific lines? Like I see that there's 2 vehicle lines, one that said one hasn't been touched. I'm wondering one what was purchased through it and maybe it's one.
Sure. Yes. Yes. And I will say this thing. I don't know how it happened, but I noticed in the facilities area. I don't know. It was an era that happened, but you ended up with carrying up people on the grounds.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to push that back into this 2610 function facilities because I just don't want to have a separate. I was going to say this, and keeping in mind, every damn account that you have, it costs you money. Don't kid yourself. And that's where I say, I want to track real money and I want to break it out. I don't, for $200, nah, I don't care. I don't care what it is. I don't want to track it. And so I want to be very careful. I want to be very deliberate on setting those accounts up. I want them to be meaningful money that you need to track. So.
Oh, a couple of comments there. In answer to Liz's question, she's going to be able to go into the system and see the detail behind anything online. Is that correct? She'll be able to see what invoices were there, how it got to that point.
I think so, but I couldn't tell her how to do it right now.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure that there is.
I think there's a separate section you have to go in. So you can't just click on a line and they'll take you there.
Okay.
So you have to go into another front load page and put in the object code and the function code, and then it will pull it up from accounts payable. So you got, it's not as like you would love it, like you'd be like, oh, what's that line? Let me click on it and it expands that line. Yeah, but you can go in and dig down much more
And is
granular.
there somebody at who would I contact with the office to get a tutorial on that?
Erin will be around next week,
Oh,
and I think
great.
she'll try to go out. You'd hope that there was a quick drill down. That's what I'm used to, is being able to go, I want to go further down. And maybe there is a way to quickly do it. So.
I'll ask them.
And I want her to go through to, I want every principal to be able to go into the reports that I've created and be able to pull that at any day you wanted to pull it.
So just a couple of additional comments about this. I'm first of all, again, echoing congratulations and thank you for bringing in this new system. It was the case that about 5 or 6 years ago, we were able as a board to go through line for line and we could see at every meeting how much remained and we could get the information about the detail. We've been missing that for several years. And so it's wonderful to have it back. And now what I'm seeing is some additional information, which is great. But it's really important for the principals to have access to Google and to their budgets
Yes.
with you. And another aspect of it, you've heard me say this often, but we want the board to get this ahead of time so we can analyze it. So we're 2 months into a new fiscal year. We have been working like crazy to get this done. I'm happy to say that Nicole said to me today that you're teaching her that she can pull the reports for us going forward and send them out to us when she sends us the agenda. So that we, as a board, can review them line for line and be able to come in and ask questions if we have them in those as well. So it's steady progress, it's
Steady
very
progress.
exciting.
And as you said, Liz will be able to go in without having to call the business office to look at, pull the same report. So she'll be able to pull it. Both Nicole and I are going to get trained on how to be able to pull these reports. Because honestly, I need to not be able to pull and not have to, Nicole's got enough on her plate at times. She doesn't need me yelling them for another report.
That makes sense. And you know, during that interim, before we had Jim with us, I mean, you were doing 3 jobs. One of which was the finances. And I think it's really healthy and important for you, the superintendent, to fully understand the system. You're not doing it day to day.
Right.
You've got a team doing it, but you need to know how it works. Absolutely. So this is exciting. Thank you.
Yes, it is exciting.
Great. And so we, as a board, I want, and Liz as well, but want us to look at it ahead of time so that we have questions that we can.
Yep.
we can do that. And this is perfect timing for, as we look ahead to budget season. So Liz, you'll have a bit of time to get into all of this and figure out where you might need more, where you could use less. So, yeah, great. All righty, exciting. Now it's time for the principal's report.
Equally as exciting.
Are you gonna head north or what's your?
I am, unless you need me.
Thank you so much. Very excited. Okay, Liz.
Yeah, so we've been back at school for a little over a week. We currently have 143 enrolled at Westminster. The daily average attendance for the past week has been 96% attendance. Last Monday, before the first day of school, we had a welcome back open house. We had 78% of families in attendance, and this, as I said in the past, principals report this was an opportunity for families to come and see their children's classrooms, visit common spaces throughout the building, and enjoy the playground. We had a beautiful night for it. It did end with rain, but it was beautiful for quite a while. Next week we'll have a scheduled early release, one of our monthly early releases where the staff stay. I just wanted to let the board know we're continuing our work on our targeted learning focus. So next week we'll be establishing professional learning communities. We had a group of educators take the course from Antioch this summer that was held at the middle school, but run through Antioch, and they became professional learning community facilitators, and we'll work for this half day time. We're going to lean into really explicit instruction, strategies to elicit student talk, active participation, written response across curricular areas, and this will be a time for staff to bring problems of practice that align to our targeted learning focus. It will also be a time for us to look at student data that is real time in our classrooms and share with colleagues. So we're excited for that work to begin, and I really think we're going forward. Our first class will be heading to Studio Y in a couple weeks, September 19th. This will be the first of 5 excursions that each class will take throughout the year. When not at Studio Y with the class, Janelle is working in classrooms to plan for the trip and collaborate with educators here in the building. 6th grade will be heading to Kuwait the first week of October 2nd, which is right around the corner. And as we know, this is a 5-day environmental learning experience for our 6th graders. The camp is in Salisbury, Vermont, right on Lake Denmark. It's beautiful. We will host a vision screening by the Lions Club on Monday, September 18th. They provide vision screenings to all students and recommendations if they recommend families bring them to that optometrist.
Can you tell me when they're going to celebrate
The week of October 2nd. And then mat testing will happen. That's coming up too in a couple weeks. That'll be right at the beginning of October, and students in grades 1 through 6 will take this assessment. This is a norms tests that assesses both math and English language arts. The results of these assessments are used to determine and guide instructional interventions. Grades 1 through 6 will take the math in the fall and the spring. Kindergartners will take the assessment in the winter and the spring. And then we're back in the building. We've been able to manage the heat because we're fortunate enough to have the AC in a lot of the spaces in the building. Our kindergarten classrooms are really hot. Our third grade classrooms are very hot. But people have been really patient and understanding the students. And we're just been working on routine, building community, and providing expectations and allocation the first few weeks is stuff. Right, it's really great to bring them back. We've had a few additions to our school community, we've moved into the area, which is really been wonderful additions to our school community site.
Margie, any questions for Liz from you?
I don't have any question. Well, I have one comment, two comments actually. One unrelated is that the connection's not great. You guys are I don't know if it's on, I don't think it's on my end, but I can't hear you very well. But then the other one is that I visited Keewaydin this weekend, and it's such a cool place, and I'm so excited that our school gets to take part in that in the 1 week there. I think that's a really special thing. So that's awesome.
That really lays the groundwork for our 6th grade to come together as one class. And they lean on this work that they'll do in October all year. So it's really a great experience that we're able to provide to our students. And that informational meeting is on Monday at 5:30 to 6 for any 6th grade family that want to learn more about how we can get your child ready for the trip.
That's great. So Margie, can you hear any better? Andy just moved.
Yeah, that's better. That's definitely better. Thank you, Andy.
Paul is staring at us.
Yeah, it's much more in proximity. Yeah, all right. So a question, I don't remember what we projected our numbers to be, but we were at 152 for most of last year. So how is this 143 matching our projection?
Well, if I go back, I know the document that I want to refer to has projected our projected incoming kindergarten.
Right.
So the amount of students that actually came is much less.
So it's the kindergarten class. That makes sense. It's just a matter of verifying what the difference.
Well,
was.
and I think last year there were 2 6th grades, right? And now there's 1 6th grade, so that probably makes
Yep, so last year,
a bigger class.
look at my multi-year, so I have the numbers correct.
Right.
So we had 27 exiting 6th graders. We have 20, and we projected 20 incoming kindergartners. We have 14. And that is on top of the move outs, the move in, the shifts.
I've heard lots of very positive things about it.
Yeah,
Just I've heard lots, the kids are like, my own kids have just loved everything about the beginning of the year, so, which is great. They came home, it was funny, that first day, they're like, I guess Westminster's just really the cows now. All the cows.
Oh, right, so we have the grants for that. The grant funds really go to organic milk dairy farms in Newfane, and so we are serving milk, the organic milk near the cafeteria. We are serving milk in cups, which is a new routine we're learning. And so the people from Nova came on the first day of school and passed out some swag, lots of cow hats.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's unlimited. The kids can get additional milk if they want to.
Oh, yeah, I love the milk.
Yeah. It's great.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. So related, the students were going to work on a banner for the board to use, okay, so that's in progress.
So that is, we have been up against the humidity really all week. So it's been having a hard time drying. So we are all crossing our fingers that we put it in some AC tonight. Tomorrow we'll be able to finish it up and it should be ready for tomorrow afternoon as somebody wants to come by and pick it up.
All right. Yeah. We'll figure that out then.
Yes.
Yes, that's great.
And I did want to say, just projecting to next month, I know, Andy, you had talked to me about wanting staff or students to present at board meetings. I do have staff who are interested in, they were planning tonight and I couldn't get it on the agenda fast enough, so they'll be planning on the next month. Sure.
Which would be our regular meeting, which is the first Thursday of October.
Yes.
Okay, great. Wonderful, thank you so much, both of you, for that. All right, so moving on then to new business, the first item is to review and approve a policy B21 on professional development. This is pretty straightforward. It was approved by the SU board last night. So we would just need a motion on the floor, and then we can discuss it if there are any questions. Thank you, Tina. You're welcome. Lovely. That's great, yeah. So there's a motion on the floor to approve policy B21, which is professional development. And are there any questions about it? Andy, why don't you speak to it just for a minute? It's standard, but it's important.
Yeah, as you say, it's standard. However, it does outline, and give us, some guidance as to how we will provide professional development for our teachers, but how we collaborate with them in developing that professional development. And then also how we report that back to the board on a regular basis. So, but, you know, Deb Cardane really takes the reins on this whole piece for us. And so it's really nice to have her and her expertise in being able to work on that. But that basically is what it is. You know, it gives us the authority to provide professional development, work with the team, and report it back.
All right, so let's do, just because we have Margie on my Zoom, let's just do a roll call to vote on that. So Margie, how do you vote on approval of this policy?
Yes.
Thank you. Steve?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and that's a yes for me, so unanimously approving B21. The next item is the WNESU bylaws, and actually we're not prepared to take action on that tonight. Nicole sent out to you the current bylaws. Not included yet are the proposed changes, although Teen and Karen, you would have received the proposed changes because they were on the agenda for the SU meeting last night.
Yeah, I have that.
You gave me one. You know, there were, this one was the, so I got some from Andy.
Oh,
I might have handed my packet, but that's okay.
Well, I got two packets, so maybe you do, I do have yours. You know, so we'll bring this back to the agenda at another date. The SU, last night, let me make a comment about that because it's relevant to this. We had on the agenda the topic of the need for revision of the bylaws, the handbook for board members, which you've all received, which gives us all guidance about kind of the operating rules for our board meetings, and the rationale for that actually is related to especially to open meeting law. And so last night we had the opportunity to spend about an hour with our council Pietro Lynn. And I really encourage people to watch a record of that meeting. Andy sent out the slides today, which were nice to hear his presentation. But yes, I really encourage you to listen to it. It gives us so much insight about the reason that we do some of the things that we do in meetings. For example, the whole idea of how email trails can be sent out and about, and the public doesn't have the opportunity to see those. And that's a form of dialogue or discussion about important things. And so he just really reinforced for us the rules really around that kind of communication and our need to discuss matters of importance for the public to hear. So it was really helpful. Yeah.
If I could just add, I actually received, some communique, from members of the public who happened to have watched it either through, Facebook or however they're watching it, just thanking, for us for having Pietro and how clearly he articulated, rules of the board and how clear the whole presentation was. So, I think it was helpful even for public. I know we could have done that training. We didn't need to do it in public, but I think it was beneficial.
Right, I do too. I think it's really important for the whole civic culture to understand, you know, what the reasons are behind these policies that we use. So we will return to the bylaw discussion after the SU board has looked at it. They don't have any approval of that, but it's important because they are WNESU bylaws that they understand the proposed changes, and then it's each town school district board that actually votes on them, so we'll have a chance to go through them.
So may I ask a question? I received a shortened form, looks like. In other words, these are the bylaws. But this was guidelines for board meetings and communications consistent with Vermont's open meeting law,
That's correct.
which is the one page.
That's correct. Okay. And that's kind of a supplement to the guidebook that Andy has already developed. This came out in the last several weeks where Andy and I were both looking for some additional clarification about some of the procedures, including email communication. Thank you. So ultimately, I think, Andy, you'll be incorporating that into the actual guidebook for board members.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was fantastic because it responded to certain things, certain challenges that we actually faced in terms of how much time a person, we speak. You know what I mean? If we're in the public comment. So I appreciated this a lot.
Actually, though, we got some advice last night that was new to me. And that is that our attorney recommends that we provide more detail on our agendas. Oh, thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
See,
What a concept. We have life.
I think it was trying to keep
So that, and this is again, in the spirit of open meeting law, to give the public as much information as possible about what will be discussed at a meeting, so that they can make a decision about whether or not they want to participate in person, whether by Zoom or, at a meeting.
yeah, and I've been thinking about that since, and I think one of the things that we might want to look at adding also is just looking at new business where we have the bylaws here. It's just in parentheses, just saying like no action or for discussion only, so that indicates to people where action will be taken.
Yeah.
As opposed to what is just for discussion. And that might help make it the public just be aware of what we are looking to vote on as opposed to, everything.
Yeah.
So.
So with that, we actually need to do this for the next, but did you have any questions or comments?
No, I just, I mean, this was very succinct to me. I happen to like it that in that way, and so.
And that really did, this is the additional kind of summary, key recommendations and guidelines for us, but we developed that with our council, and it in part came out of questions that we're getting ourselves and from other board members about the kind of best practices for procedures.
Yeah, and I thought that's why I felt that this was helpful.
Excellent. All right, in old and unfinished business, the first of those is tuition waivers. And we actually, we know that we had already approved Marlon Hardy to have her 6th grade complete here this year, and that this board has a policy whereby the children of any employees may ask to be students at the school, and the board would approve that if there's space available. some of the conditions I considered.
Yes.
And I think we had already approved the nurses child, sixth grade student as well. And I think, did we not approve Ryder and Riley McKenna, the first grade teachers? I mean, students, I'm sorry. We had previously approved these, right? Yes. So I think the question now, Andy, we know that we sent a tuition request to Rockingham for one of these students, and that was denied, which is not a surprise to us. Should we be sending a request to the other two schools, one in New Hampshire and one in Putney?
I would recommend, just for clarity in practice, that you follow that is your policy, that you will send that letter. As you said, I think we may already know the outcome, but it's just worst case scenario, someone says yes, and here's a check. You know, but at the same time, I think it just follows the policy.
All right, and so in this case, Liz has written the letter, and should I, as the board chair, simply enclose this in an envelope and send it off, or what?
Or you can give them to me, and we can mail them out of my office, that's fine.
All right,
We'd be happy to do that, but fine.
all right, I'll provide you those 3 letters. We've already sent the one to Rockingham. So it's just these two.
Okay.
All right,
Get that one?
thank you so much, that's great. Anything else on that? We don't have any others.
No.
I think in one discussion, Andy, you checked with our attorney. Our policy is to admit the children of any employees here. There was some idea that potentially the board might consider a ceiling, a maximum number of students in any year that might be here tuition free, coming as children of offspring.
Would that be challenging though? Cause like, then how could we say, yeah, your kids get to go, but your kids don't, because we hit the ceiling? I feel like that could raise other issues.
So-
It's sort of different than first come, first served, because we don't know, in other words, that we would hire a person. But you didn't have before and they have kids, then it's not like. It's not like in mine. So that's. Sorry.
No, so there's a couple of pieces that we've unraveled in kind of trying to sort this all out. But first of all, under school choice, because high schools have school choice in Vermont. Each school at the beginning, or I think it's February, sets their ceiling of what they'll pay. And then if there is space after that, enrollment goes down, your kindergarten's lower than you thought it was going to be, you can still accept other students. So that would be in practice with what happened throughout Vermont already, to set a ceiling and then look at that. But I understand just what you're saying, we hire a teacher late, it's a great perk. So it's something just to consider there. The other piece that we have learned, and I think it's an unintended outcome of all of this, is that when a student comes from another Vermont school or district, and typically under school choice school choice, you have school choice 7th and 8th grade also. The ADM stays with you. So membership, so the funds you get from the state that count, you count that student as your student, even though they may attend Compass. Does that make sense? I just want to make sure. So you retain that because that's how you collect your funds from the state. And it helps with your taxes and how you figure out your taxes. If a student comes from another district to you, and that district agrees to pay for that student, then they keep the ADM, that other district, just like you would send a student to Compass or somewhere of that nature. If Rockingham were to send a student here and pay for that student, they keep that ADM. You don't keep the ADM. You can't count that student in your counts. So your 143 should not, for state counts, count any of these students. So that lowers the number of students you have. So that impacts your your ratio budget, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's why
Well, in this case, if we're not being paid for the four
I get there.
students. Oh, okay,
there's the unintended consequence.
okay.
We checked with the state and we're trying to unravel this a little bit more. Nobody gets the ADM. In a situation where one district is not paying and another district is agreeing to receive without payment, it's unclear. The initial response we got from the state was nobody gets the ADM, which I don't think was the intended outcome. So we're trying to unpack that more because potentially, you know, a student who was a Putney student, let's just use that, and comes up here and Putney says, well, we're not gonna pay and you're not getting anything. You can't count that student, and Southeast loses the funds on that student as well. And so it's a lose-lose situation from a tax, but not, you know, I mean, student gains because they're coming here. So I mean, so that's
So the state makes out.
potentially, yes. Where does that money go, right? Does it get redistributed out to other schools? We don't know. So we're unpacking that. So I don't have, we discovered that just the school was kind of opening, but we were trying to track it a little bit and trying to get a handle on it. I hope by your next meeting, I can have a little bit more clarity for you because, you know, I don't know if a district agrees to pay $1. Does that circumvent that kind of, that law type of thing, or, you know, type of thing, like where Rockingham owns Hadley Field and rents it to the high school for $1 a year, and then that way, you know, type of thing. So we're still looking at that, but I'm not overly worried. But as you're talking about ceilings or unlimited type of stuff, I did speak with a parent who asked about, you know, they're going to be working in our district and put their child with 10th year, and they don't work with you, but they work within our SU.
That's different.
I know.
That's
so
not in our policy.
I understand that, and I'm very much aware of everybody who loses in that situation, right? So it's a little different.
So working through some of this, our 7th and 8th graders, we pay tuition to the schools that they
Correct.
go to, so they are counted and they are part of
Yes,
our
they are part of your count. Yes.
ADM. And so currently, as we play this out, we have 4 students that we would not be counted in our ADM. We have 4, 2 6th graders and 2 1st graders.
Right.
And you're going to continue trying to unpack all
Yes,
this.
and so yeah, I just and again, I think maybe there is a ceiling that you can afford for that purpose, and as long as you go into it knowing that maybe that's a decision to make, if that is consider, I don't know. So it's just something we didn't know that at the time when we were going through all this and we found that out. So
And far better that we think it through before we have openings of staff and positions. Far better that we try to be able to complete.
and again, what we're also trying to understand is, well, let's say if choose Rockingham as an example, if Rockingham reciprocated with a similar policy, so a student choose, you know, if his parent worked in Rockingham, child could go work there, but no monies were exchanged, is everyone still losing? According to the state, yes, and that's what we're trying to, that doesn't make sense, it doesn't even get the OMSU. So it's not like we're taking from another SU or something of that nature, that's what we're trying to.
You're going to continue to try to
Yes.
work on it. Because we also really like it as an incentive, we like it for the families, all of that. So thank you for your efforts to help us on that as well. Do we have any, maybe you would have this, there's any interaction with Steve, any update on the solar installation? Any news about the roof for the gymnasium?
I have not heard any update from Steve. Have you?
Yeah, I have a, well, it's up here. Actually. Steve also has been dealing with family, issue, so, but I did ask him for an update. So, they are still working on getting a structural analysis. And there is, what he told me is, that currently, the contract is signed and ready to go. So he is working to, get that structural analysis in. We did have some communique after your last meeting with the vendor, your solar array vendor back and forth. And so, I would have to dig through my email, but I do believe they were setting up a time and where Steve was, I think some of the discussion was, do we have to use our engineer, can we use their engineer and stuff like that? And my recollection was Steve was like, look, if your person can do it, let's get him in. And so I think it's just arranging that. So
So at what point does Liz get copied in on any of that correspondence to know?
I think that was probably just an oversight.
Just thinking of that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there are things that I'm planning, but
Just checking my email to see what that last correspondence was.
Andy, as you're checking, you said the contract is signed and ready to go. I don't know what contract. I don't think it's not the full solar contract yet because we'd be waiting.
I think his reference is that we've chosen the vendor. And so, but we haven't, finished signing the contract. That's his note that he has. So I would have to unpack that.
Right.
So,
And I think it's a Westminster contract. It's not a SU contract.
correct.
So that's, yeah. See that contract.
Steve's last correspondence was on the 25th with Chad from Vermont Solar. And they were asking some questions about like what kind of roof material is planned for the gym. The recommendation is for an EPDM or rubber membrane roof. Asking how long will it take to get a waiver? If we don't get the 3 bids, it's, Steve was telling us getting about 3 to 4 weeks. And then he was asking who has the right to sign the contract, and Steven said that usually I do, but in this case, I need to sign on Westminster's behalf and push that contract back down. So, Steve provided them also with a structural report.
so these are bids on the roof. What type of roofs that you're talking, when you say bids,
Yeah, the roof is more an SU project. The solar is a Westminster project.
that's right, so the bids on the bids for that type of roof is what I'm understanding.
I think, and Cheryl, I think you were included on that because I'm seeing now you had said, you, Jim, and I would need to confer on who would sign that contract.
Right.
So that we haven't had any updates since that. I haven't seen anything from them. So I will. I'll give him a ping in the morning.
Thank you. Okay. And then on the, yes, Margie, you have a question or a comment?
Is there an update at all on the entryway project?
Just looking through emails.
Yeah, the sound isn't working again, guys. No, I'm kidding.
It's because it was silent.
I would have to get back with you on that because I think that we were getting ready to go out to bid. I'm not seeing it on the list you just gave me. But I believe that we were just finalizing some things with the architect. We met just before school opened up on some finalizations. I got a bill from the architect to play that. So, So I think it was just a matter of finalizing some things, and then he's got to put an RFP together and push that out. So I don't know, I don't have a timeline, I apologize.
So
When I
then-
came in today, I was thinking, gosh, it'll be really nice to have that new entryway.
I'm only still saying that Liz needs to be copied in on, someone has to be thinking about when Liz will be copied in on this information, because people are gonna be asking when, like, you know, like the board members, when is that entryway going? And then she says, I have no idea. They know it, you know, and so you need to know that information because you get questions about it.
Thank you.
The next subject is the pavilion, and Margie, we got a request from Steve Horton. If you and Steve could talk directly in order to have a conversation with the vendor who submitted a proposal to us, just to see if the additional information can be obtained. That's where
Yeah,
we
I
are.
saw that. I saw that email. I just haven't had a chance to email back yet. Yes, I'll go over there and see.
But, and you want to connect Steve with him, and it's great if you can be in the conversation as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
And we need to have that move ahead in a timely way, otherwise we'll. Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm so glad.
Great.
Guy.
Brings reality.
Absolutely. All right. We're actually done with business. If there's, we'll go to director's comments, date and time. Let me ask you this, date and time of the next meeting. It would be, it's our kind of optional meeting. It would be on September 21. I don't know that we need to have a meeting.
No.
If some
That would be
things,
fine.
if some things came up and we had progress that we needed to attend to. But otherwise, I don't think we need to have a meeting on the 21st.
Not either. Are you just dying for another meeting or?
Well, actually, I won't be able to attend that day because I'm actually a panelist for the Vermont School Boards Association to talk about PCBs. So I was, they invited me to attend, even though we're not a member of that association, but to talk about it just because
That's right.
we spent so much time in the paper. If they were
Right.
well,
You must be pretty knowledgeable.
So then our next meeting would be October,
The first Thursday of October.
Yeah.
The 5th. Okay. So next meeting, October 5, and I feel confident that Charlie will be back with us at that time, which will be great. So let's just close with director's comments, and Margie, let's start with you and family there.
Well, we just want to say that we are very happy that school is open again and that everything is running smoothly and everybody's having a good time, right, Junie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, team. Anything?
Yeah, same. It is so much work getting the school year started, so thank you guys. This now small job. Everyone seems very happy and, yep, thanks. Great. Thanks for making the call today for a half day for the kids' safety too. I appreciate it.
that was great.
Yeah.
Yes, well, I want to thank Cheryl for reminding me that I could get on to Remind so I can get these texts.
Oh,
So,
good.
right about school, what's going on, so I knew about the early release, but that was great.
So
I
Liz,
really-
Liz solved it for you. huh?
Yes, well, no, I think,
You did?
I don't know how I did it. Frankly, I think I went somewhere and I got on, that's all I can do. Oh, no, it was Kate, yeah, I think it was, yeah. But I just, I was sorry, really sorry to miss open. I was here on Tuesday. It was so funny, looking around, no cars. What's going on? And a woman came out and I just said it was last night. So I will double check the next time. But thank you so much for all of your work and Andy for yours, and I'm so happy the team's happy, and their kids are happy. And so,
And Junie
is
Savvy.
Margie and Junie's happy, so
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, well, for me, the open house was wonderful. It was great. I'm glad we had 78% of the families represented. That's outstanding. It was a beautiful evening. Before it rained, so it was perfect with all of that. And then a reminder to those who can, Westminster West Community Fair is on Saturday, and the parade starts at 10:30 at the West School building and ends at about 10:35 at the church. I mean, it's not a very long parade, but I'll make sure I get over here tomorrow afternoon to pick up the little banner and those remembers that could be there to walk in the parade.
If you've got time, it's great. It's a great event, a lot of fun.
And bring, if you can, bring the children. Bike decorating starts a little bit by 10:15 for those who want to ride their bicycles in the parade. And
Dessert table, I'm personing the dessert table, so, and silent auction items. Anyway, it's a lot of fun if you haven't been.
there will be a little bit of a welcome for the fairies at 1 o'clock, Fairy House Build. The children who are there and want to, in preparation for the big Fairy House Festival in Grafton. September 20th.
And there's a talent show, so if you want to come and sing or play an instrument.
I will not be able to.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. All right, but anyway, with that, I suggest we adjourn the meeting, and thanks to everybody. All right, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, all. Thank you.
This meeting was recorded by Falls Area Community Television, located at 1 Hospital Court, Bellows Falls, Vermont. If you would like a copy of the meeting, our phone number is 802-463-1613, or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community TV, keeping government honest.